Walk Two Moons, Chapter 32, Chicken and Blackberry Kisses. Gramps barreled through Wyoming like a house afire. We snaked through winding roads where the trees leaned close, rustling. Rush, 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 rush. The road curved alongside rivers that rolled and garbled. Hurry, hurry, hurry. It was late when we arrived at Yellowstone. All we got to see that evening was a hot spring. We walked on boardwalks placed across the bubbling mud. Huzzah, huzzah, Graham said. And we stayed in the Old Faithful Inn in a frontier cabin. I've never seen Graham so excited. She could not wait for the next morning. We're going to see Old Faithful, she said over and over. It won't take very long, will it, I said, and I felt like a mule saying it because Graham was so looking forward to it. Don't you worry, Salamanca, Graham said. We'll just watch that old geyser blow, then we'll hit the road. I prayed all night long to the elm tree outside. I prayed that we would not get in an accident, and we would get to Lewiston, Idaho in time for my mother's birthday, and that we would bring her home. Later, I would realize that I had prayed for the wrong things. That night, Graham was so excited that she could not sleep. She rambled on about all sorts of things. She said to Gramps, "Remember that letter from the Eggman that you found under the mattress?" "Of course I remember. We had a wing-ding of an argument over it. You told me you had no idea how it got there. You said the Eggman must have slipped into the bedroom and put it there." "Well, I want you to know that I put it there." "I know that," Gramps said. "I'm not a complete noodle." "It's the only love letter anybody ever wrote me," Graham said. "You never wrote me any love letters." "You never told me you wanted one." "To me," Graham said, "your grandfather nearly killed the Eggman over that letter." "Heck," Gramps said, "he wasn't worth killing." "Maybe not, but Gloria was." "Ah, yes," Gramps said, placing his hands on his heart and pretending to swoon. "Gloria." "Cut that out," Graham said, rolling over on her side. "Tell me about Peavy. Tell me that story, but don't make it too awfully sad." She folded her hands on her chest. "Tell me what happened with the lunatic." When I saw the picture of the lunatic on Sergeant Bickle's desk, I tore out of that office faster than lightning. I ran past Sergeant Bickle standing in the parking lot. No signs of Phoebe. I ran all the way to her house. As I passed Mrs. Cadaver's house, Mrs. Partridge called me to her porch. "You're all dressed up," I said. "Going somewhere?" "Oh, yes," she said. "I'm readable." She tottered down the steps, swinging her cobra cane in front of her. "Are you walking?" I asked. She reached down and touched her legs. "Is that what you call it when you move your legs like I'm doing?" "No, I mean, are you walking to wherever you're going?" "Oh, no, it's far too long for these legs. Jimmy's coming. He'll be here any minute." A car pulled up in front of the house. "There he is," she said. She called out to the driver. "I'm readable. I said I would be, and here I am." The driver leapt out of the car. "Sal," he said. "I had no idea you two were neighbors." It was Mr. Berkway. "We're not," I said. "It's Phoebe who's the neighbor." "Is that right?" he said, opening the car door for Mrs. Partridge. "Come on, Mom. Let's get a move on." "Mom?" I said. I looked at Mrs. Partridge. "This is your son?" "Why, of course," Mrs. Partridge said. "This is my little Jimmy." "But he's a Berkway." Mrs. Partridge said, "I was a Berkway once. Then I was a Partridge. I'm still a Partridge." "Then who's Mrs. Cadaver?" I said. "She's my little Margie. She was a Berkway too. Now she's a Cadaver." I said to Mr. Berkway, "Mrs. Cadaver is your sister?" "We're twins," Mr. Berkway said. When they had driven away, I knocked at Phoebe's door, but there was no answer. At home, I dialed Phoebe's number over and over. No answer. The next day at school, I was relieved to see Phoebe. "Where were you?" I said. "I have something to tell you." She turned away. "I don't want to talk about it," she said. "I do not wish to discuss it." I couldn't figure out what was the matter with her. It was a terrible day. We had tests in math and science. At lunch, Phoebe ignored me. Then came English. Mr. Berkway skipped into the room. People were gnawing on their fingers and tapping their feet and wriggling around and generally getting ulcers, wondering if Mr. Berkway was going to read from their journals. I stared at him. He and Margaret Cadaver were twins? Was that possible? The most disappointing part of that piece of knowledge was that he was not going to fall in love with Mrs. Cadaver and marry her and take her away. Mr. Berkway opened a cupboard, pulled out the journals, slipped the yellow paper over the cover of one and read. "This is what I like about Jane. She is smart, but she doesn't act like she knows everything. She's cute. She smells good. She's cute. She makes me laugh. She's cute." I got a prickly feeling up and down my arms. I wondered if Ben had written this about me, but then I realized that Ben didn't even know me when he wrote his journal. A little buzz was going around the room as people shifted in their seats. Christy was smiling. Megan was smiling. Beth Ann was smiling. Mary Lou was smiling. Every girl in the room was smiling. Each girl thought that it had been written about her. I looked carefully at each of the boys. Alex was gazing nonchalantly at Mr. Berkway. Then I saw Ben. He was sitting with his hands over his ears, staring down at his desk. The prickly feeling traveled all the way up my neck and then went skipping down my spine. He did write that, but he did not write it about me. Mr. Berkway exclaimed, "Ah, love, ah, life." Sighing, he pulled out another journal and read, "Jane doesn't know the first thing about boys."